You're listening to How to 20-something, the only podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to be focusing on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life and what to do about it. I'm your host, Just Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Just Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off, and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20-something. Welcome back to another episode of How to 20-something, with today's topic being about winning your weekends. And don't worry, I'll be running through what this phrase even means, how you can apply it to your life, and the role it plays on creating balance in your life. You see, one of the biggest things I see amongst young adults is this aggressive swing from weekday life to weekend life, where your weekday is structured and regimented, and your weekends, all hell breaks loose. And while it's important to have fun, it's also important to have balance. It's one of the major outcomes my clients walk away with by working with me. And once they establish this healthy relationship of give and take, of thinking with your future self in mind, of having a clear idea of what your decisions right now will have on some future version of you, they actually start loving all aspects of their life. Funny how that works. I honestly don't think people even understand what this idea of balance is, because you might be listening and thinking, yeah, I have good balance, but if you're like the 90% of 20-somethings out there, then I hate to break it to you, but you don't have good balance. If you're part of the 10%, then congrats, you're doing great and keep it up. And mind you, this is a stat I completely made up, but it's pretty accurate to the people I know and interact with on a regular basis. There's also the phrase work-life balance that likes to be thrown around in the younger millennial, older Gen Z generations, which is also falsely defined and not at all what you're saying it is. I hear people take work-life balance in one of two wrong directions. The first one is working less and playing more. These people believe they should not have to work 40 hours a week because that takes up too much of their life to enjoy the fun parts of it. They feel entitled to leave work early or come in as they feel when they are still at the bottom of the totem pole of the corporate ladder, or they feel inclined to complain about their schedule, even though everyone else has the same schedule. And I get it, because college makes you feel like you have all this free time and flexibility, and the real world makes you feel like you're in prison of be here for work, eat at this time, and play for a very small fraction of your day. Unfortunately, that is just not how life works, at least not in this present day. And trust me, I'm for a shorter work week or being self-employed if you found a passion that can support your lifestyle. But I also know a majority of you don't have it in you to run your own shit because it's a lot of freaking work. It requires an unbelievable amount of discipline, organization, and mental health. And it is much safer and more responsible to have a secure paycheck coming your way. But that also means going to work Monday through Friday and being gone for 10 hours at a time. It's not fun. I know because I had a corporate job and I set myself up to be able to leave it as quickly as I could after finding my passion with personal training and coaching. The other version of work-life balance that people get all twisted is saving all the fun for your weekends. So it's the stark contrast of weekday you compared to weekend you, your priorities, your decisions, and your actions. Here's what work-life balance actually is. It is having a set routine all 7 days of the week, having a solid foundation in your fitness regimen, your nutritional choices, your mental health, your growth mindset, and your finances so that you can go to that networking event on a weekday or splurge a little on the weekends and party hard every now and then. Not every weekend or every weeknight, but a nice back and forth, where you know you can come right back to your routine the very next day or very next moment. It's having the same top 5 priorities at the top of your mind at all times, not just because it's the weekday or because it's the weekend, but because it's what makes you feel good and like you have your shit together. And I've said this in past episodes, and I'm saying it again and will continue to remind you of it. But your solid foundation is your home base. It's the place for you to come back to, reset yourself, get back into your rhythm, and then be able to take a detour now and then. Balance is tricky because just like the laws of physics, every action has an equal or opposite reaction, as in every decision you make or action you take affects some future version of you, and it's up to you as to how you pay for those consequences or reap in those achievements. Balance in your everyday life can show up in a number of ways, but let's begin with what balance isn't in terms of winning your weekends. Balance is not an extremely regimented routine Monday through Thursday and then go off the rails Friday through Sunday, only to repeat that process again. Balance is also not staying out till close every weekend, drinking every weekend, eating out every weekend, ignoring all responsibilities every weekend. And by every, I mean a majority of your weekends. Balance is not being alcohol-free 6 days a week, but that one night where you aren't, you have 7+ drinks and wake up hungover. Similarly, balance is not eating well 6 days a week and going ham on your one cheat day, which I even work hard to help my clients remove the cheat day mindset from their vocabulary and their brain because it's toxic. It's where the saying everything in moderation comes into play. Balance is moderation. If you were to seriously take a step back and look at every weekend you've had in, say, the last 2 months, how many of those included you drinking alcohol, sleeping in very late, not eating well, and honestly just trying to feel like you're back in college again to some extent? You see, there's great maturity that happens when you realize you don't want to spend your weekends doing all of that, but would rather have more enticing activities, more meaningful moments, and healthier decisions. Something I've battled with over the last few years is the idea that maturity is boring. And I will say it is boring when comparing my life right now to my 21-year-old self. But I'm also not the same person that I was in college. Life took its toll on me from the moment I walked across the stage to collect my diploma, and it forced me to put a lot of things into perspective. I had to very quickly learn about my mental health, my routine, my coping mechanisms for a rough day or phase in my life, what my priorities were, managing my finances so I could afford rent and groceries, and what life after college really is. The pandemic got me out of drinking and going out because everything was shut down, and I didn't find it helpful to drink alone in my apartment, and I kind of just carried that habit with me for the following years, including now. Maturing is knowing myself and not wanting to have an expensive night out that I barely remember and then suffer the hangover consequences the next day. Maturing is also knowing that now I don't like to put myself in jet lag mode where I'm staying up late and sleeping in on the weekends, where my weekday schedule is like a 3-hour difference in what time I go to bed and wake up. And I mentioned this in the sleep episode, I think it was episode 3, where it's the equivalent of flying from Florida to California, only it's really just you in your city going out on Friday and Saturday night and staying out late. Which, funny enough, as I'm recording this episode this morning in one of my group fitness classes, one of the members told me that she was exhausted because she did have to fly to California for 48 hours for work. And 2 days later, she's still trying to adjust her circadian rhythm back to East Coast time. And I told her, isn't it funny how people do this to themselves every single weekend, but without that trip to the West Coast? And I don't want you to think I'm shitting on the bar culture, but I am shitting on your decisions to take part in it every single weekend. Or again, more weekends than not. And I know so many people that are stuck in their 22-year-old self, but are pushing 30 now, which is sad and pathetic. And I know that's harsh, but come on. When is it enough? When is it time for you to grow up and find something else to do other than drinking every weekend? There's more to life when you think about what else there is for you to do with your friends or even just with yourself. And you'll actually find yourself happier because now your weekdays align with your weekend schedule and priorities. You'll even find yourself showing up in your relationship stronger, in your work environment stronger, and in your health stronger. And you're going to end up feeling better and looking better. Basically, here's what I'm not saying. That you need to be so dialed in 24/7 and never have a fun, carefree moment again for the rest of your life. Because that, my friend, is also not balanced. Just like how your extremes are from your weekday to weekend, going all in on one end is just as bad for you. There's a little dance that happens with your choices, as it's a give and take. It's have the foresight to know and prepare for the outcomes of your actions and deciding if it's worth it. Because sometimes it is. Sometimes you're going to have a weekend away or a wedding to attend or some celebration to occur where letting loose is the healthier decision. But having the routine to come back to is what will make your life easier. But let's switch the focus to the title of the episode, which is Win Your Weekends, as this is a play on maintaining a balanced lifestyle. And I do want to give credit where credit is due, and that is I did not come up with this term, this phrase. I listened to a health and fitness podcast called Mind Pump, where they also introduced the jet lag mode. And one of the guys, Adam, brings this idea up of winning your weekends every now and then. And I, for one, love it. I love it so much that I'm creating an entire episode for you to apply it to your life. So let me break down what winning your weekends means, or at least my interpretation of it and how it applies to us 20-somethings. This is going to bed at a decent time Friday and Saturday night, not letting yourself sleep in past a certain time in the morning, and actually getting up out of bed when you wake up instead of scrolling on your phone or watching TV from under your covers for several more hours. This is not skipping meals for whatever reason, but eating all 3 meals per usual, hitting your protein targets, figuring out when you're going to exercise, and set yourself up for the week ahead. Go grocery shopping, meal prep in whatever style you choose to do, laundry if needed, straighten up your place. Basically, winning your weekends means prioritizing getting your shit together so you're not a monster dragging your feet come Monday morning. I want to help you avoid the feeling of fuck me when your alarm goes off on Monday because you chose to be a careless 20-something-year-old all weekend long and didn't do anything for the adult version of you that is required during the work week. It also means knowing when you're going to do what needs to get done so you can go have fun, knowing that everything is taken care of or will be taken care of in a timely manner. That's the balance. You can't escape responsibilities. Our parents aren't taking care of us anymore. We are in charge of ourselves, and with that comes errands that need to get done, whether you want to do them or not. There are greater consequences when you choose not to do the adult decision and go have fun instead. And it's the weekday version of you that will suffer for weekend you having too much fun, resulting in this vicious rinse and repeat cycle of a rough and exhausting work week, so your reward to yourself is kicking it back on the weekends and living freely. It's actually a form of self-sabotage because you're required to be so regimented 5 days of the week, so you want the complete opposite come Saturday and Sunday. And don't worry, next week's episode, I already know, is going to be on self-sabotage. The Mind Pump podcast has also brought up some really good points that this idea of living freely is a result of being regimented, responsible, and disciplined. What this means is having a fit and healthy body, a clear mind, and consistency in the ways you show up for yourself allows you to have the freedom, flexibility, and energy to do what you want. Maybe you've had the thought before that, wow, I do so much during the workday and the days feel really long, yet I feel like I can't do more than one task on each weekend day. And it's most likely because you worked out and ate well, so now you have the energy to do multiple tasks because energy begets energy. When you lounge around all weekend, you don't have the energy to get up and do what you need to do, and throw in your messed up sleep cycle to the mix and you have the recipe for no motivation. Yet, you have enough energy for another night out. Funny how that works. It's because you have just enough energy for what you're prioritizing, and that, my friend, is your drinking habit and social life. Where if you worked out before, say, lunchtime on both Saturday and Sunday, then you would have the energy to clean your place, prep your food, and go out and have fun. But also not wanting to get shit-faced because you want to wake up the next day and show up for yourself and your health again because it's what makes you feel good. That's where balance hits, because it is possible to do it all with none of the extremes. I actually believe it is more beneficial to take a rest day during your work week than your weekends because your work week already has the structure to it and the weekends are more of a free-for-all. And when you don't have a set routine or at least a checklist of weekend tasks, it becomes a lot harder to get shit done. If you are of the young adult population who doesn't have a normal schedule, whether because you're in school or work strange hours like a nurse, then this still applies to you. Only if you're a nurse, then it's your days off that should include all of your errands, exercise, and prep for your shifts because your work days are really long. And it's not fair to you or your body to work out on those days or have to worry about food for the next day. I put my nurse clients on a 2 or 3 day a week full body workout and specifically tell them not to work out on the days they have work. For anyone who is in school, my biggest piece of advice for fitting in the gym with your changing schedule is to treat your workout like it's another class. It's not going to be the same time every day, but take a look at your schedule and see where you have enough time to work out and shower. But I will say this episode is for the majority of 20-somethings who have a Monday through Friday schedule. I just wanted to exemplify how you can always apply this mentality of winning your weekends to your unique schedule, where weekend for you probably doesn't mean Friday night through Sunday. And you can direct the mentality I'm about to introduce to your days off, whether they are consecutive days off or not. So the best way to win your weekends is to identify your top 4 or 5 priorities and plug them into your weekend before Friday night hits. Knowing when and how you're going to show up in these different parts of your life, basically having your schedule set to include them before your weekend festivities begin, before the distractions roll in. It's on you to hold yourself accountable to your actions, or, like I said, you could always hire a coach like myself to help you actually want to show up for yourself and follow through, where your routine becomes what you crave the most. My top priorities are sleep, nutrition, physical health, financial responsibility, my business, and meaningful connections. I have 6 that are extremely important to me to maintain to my highest ability. That means for my sleep, I'm letting myself rest on the weekends when I don't have to be working at one of the gyms. This is not in a lazy way all day, but in a strategic, planned out way. For example, before I go to bed Friday night, I have a time I want to be asleep by, which adjusts if I have plans, but still have a goal time, and what time I want to be up by. I also determine whether I'm going to let myself lounge in my bed for an extra 20 minutes and scroll on my phone. And this does not happen every Saturday and Sunday, but sometimes when I've had a crazy week, doing this serves me the best. I still make sure I get out of bed, make my bed, and have my morning routine, but I do let myself lounge a little bit more than usual every now and then. My nutrition, I'm prioritizing protein and 3 meals every day. My nutrition doesn't change all that much from weekday to weekend, only I don't have pre-prepped lunches ready to go, so it's having meat defrosted in the fridge by Friday night. My nutrition also is planning out when I'm going to go grocery shopping and when I'm going to meal prep for the week ahead. I usually spread them out where I grocery shop on Saturday and meal prep on Sunday. My physical health is easy for me. I'm either group training at the gym, which has me walking for like 2 hours straight, or I go lift on my own, or if the weather's nice, I play soccer at a park nearby. But again, prior to Friday night, I know what's happening with my physical fitness Saturday and Sunday. Financial responsibility is not going ham and spending money on food and drinks and things all weekend long. When I had a steady corporate paycheck, I would splurge on 1 meal out a weekend. Now I do one experience a weekend that sometimes is free and sometimes is low cost, like less than $30. In my business, I spend my mornings in my weekend planning podcast episodes or upcoming workshops or the week ahead and what needs to get done or created. And on Sundays, I usually write out all of my clients' workouts for the week and update everyone's folders. My 6th priority is meaningful connection. So I try my hardest to do something social on Saturday or even Friday night, but at least one thing that involves quality time with good people. Do you see how some of my priorities do include the fun parts of the weekend without being reckless and irresponsible? I don't typically stay out past midnight in general. I call it my Cinderella era, and it's because I don't want to sleep in too late the next day. I personally like being productive in the mornings on the weekends, but that's me. And that's how I win the weekends about 98% of the weekends in the year. How you win the weekend is entirely up to you. And like anything that's new, start with really focusing your priorities on one specific area in your life and build it up from there. When you put yourself first, you then become capable of being there for others and having fun at the same time. But a large part of adulting is being responsible first. Doing what you know needs to get done, so then it's one less thing you have to worry about and one less thing for your Monday self to have to stress over. Winning your weekends makes weekday life a hell of a lot more manageable. And if this is something you are struggling with and need help adjusting into, then please go to the show notes and click the Let's Chat link, as I would love to strategize with you. But hopefully by now you have some grasp as to what winning your weekends is. It's balance, it's priorities, it's being an adult and wanting to get your shit together. And you know, I'm always here if you need help changing your ways. And I want to thank you for listening to another episode of How to 20-something. If you liked what you heard, you know the drill. Share it with a friend, post it on social media, and tag me at coach.justdiamond when you do. Send it to that reckless person in your life, as I'm sure you know exactly who needs to hear this message. And I can't wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode.